He didn't have to wait long. Elizabeth, the vintage truck, pulled up. "I can take you as far as the flour mill," she boomed. "Thank you," said the tuba player. He climbed onto Elizabeth's wagon, and he practiced his tuba as they chuffed down the lane. Thomas puffed faster and faster. Wherever was the tuba player? Thomas flew right across the level crossing. He didn't see Elizabeth waiting there, or the tuba player on her flatbed. And he didn't hear the tuba playing. Where could the tuba player be? Thomas moaned. Elizabeth took the tuba player all the way to the mill. "There you are, young man," she puffed. "Trevor will take you from here." The tuba player thanked Elizabeth and climbed aboard Trevor. Trevor chugged slowly down the lane. Thomas kept on looking, but the island was very big, and the tuba player was very small. Thomas looked behind freight cars. And called into coaches. He raced along the main line, tooting all the way, but it didn't help. Where was the tuba player? Thomas raced into the yard. Percy was coming the other way. Whoa! Thomas bumped straight into Percy, and the bunting flew up into the air. Percy's freight cars came off the track, and so did Thomas. "You've spilt my bunting," moaned Percy. "I'll never find the tuba player now," groaned Thomas. Harvey arrived to put Thomas back on track. "How did you get into this mess?" he boomed. "I was looking for the tuba player," moaned Thomas. "Look and listen," Harvey said thoughtfully. "If he's a tuba player, he might be playing his tuba." So Thomas took his time, and he listened very carefully. Then he heard it, the sound of a tuba playing in the distance. Trevor was chugging happily down the lane. He was enjoying the tuba player's music. Thomas pulled up. He was pleased to see the tuba player. "I've been looking for you everywhere," he puffed. With the tuba player safely on board, Thomas steamed off to Maithwaite as fast as he could. Thomas arrived at the party just in time. The band played beautifully. Lady Hat was very happy. It was the best birthday party ever. Thomas's whistle is broken. Which new whistle should Thomas choose? That doesn't sound like an engine whistle. Try another whistle, Thomas. Does that sound like an engine whistle? Let's listen again. That doesn't sound like an engine whistle either. There's one more whistle left. I wonder what this one sounds like. That sounds like a very good engine whistle. Well done, Thomas.
engines make. Chugga chugga. Chugga chugga. Chugga chugga. These are the sounds that the engines make. Happy hooves as the fields rush by, shoveling coal how the time does fly. Proudly race full steam ahead, screeching brakes when the lights go red. A wish of steam and clanking joints, shuddering doors and clattering points, with a whisk on the whistle and a wish on the brakes. These are the sounds that the engines make. Chugga chugga. Chugga chugga. Chugga chugga. These are the sounds that the engines make. Chugga chugga. Chugga chugga. Chugga chugga. These are the sounds that the engines make.
Hurry up! I'm a busy engine, puffed Henry. Goods arrive night and day at the docks. Sometimes Henry and the other engines work so hard that their axles ache. Sir Topham Hatt brought in a new engine to help with the heavy workload. He was long and had 10 drive wheels. He looked very strong. This is Murdoch. He's going to be pulling freight on the main line. Ahoy, matey! Shouted Salty. Welcome, Murdoch, called Harvey. You're the biggest engine I've ever seen, cried Thomas. You're a chatty lot, Murdoch said quietly. Soon Murdoch was coupled to a long, long line of heavy freight cars. His boilers strained, his wheels started to turn, and the mighty engine chuffed away. Murdoch longed for some peace and quiet. But everywhere he went, it was noisy and crowded. At the end of the day, Murdoch was looking forward to a good night's rest. But Salty and Harvey were full of questions. What's the longest train you've ever pulled? Have you ever worked Marseille? Have you ever crashed? Please, I want some peace and quiet, and I don't want to share a shed with chatterboxes. No need to be rude, huffed Harvey. Hey, we're only being friendly, matey. The next morning, Murdoch collected another long, heavy train. This time, he chuffed into the beautiful countryside. It was splendid. At last, he had some peace and quiet. Suddenly, his driver applied the brakes. There were sheep on the tracks. The sheep escaped from that field, said the driver, through that broken fence. The driver and the fireman tried to chase the sheep back. First this way, and then that way. They tried everything, but nothing worked. We'll never move these sheep by ourselves, complained the fireman. I'll go and phone for help, sighed the driver. Murdoch was very unhappy. The noisy sheep were spoiling his peace and quiet. Sir Topham Hatt was enjoying afternoon tea when he got the call. Sheep? He exclaimed loudly. I'll send Toby with the farmer immediately. The sheep were becoming noisier and noisier. Please stop, groaned Murdoch. I'd rather be back with the chatterbox engines. Just then, Toby chuffed into view. Toby, exclaimed Murdoch. We're certainly glad to see you. Before long, the farmer and his dog went to work. And the sheep were soon safely in their field. and Murdoch was on his way again. Thanks, Toby. That evening, Murdoch parked between Harvey and Salty. But Murdoch spoke first.
I'm sorry that I was cross, he chuffed. I'm very pleased to share a shed with you.
And we're very pleased to have your company, said Harvey.
Aye, we are, added Salty. It reminds me of a story.
Murdoch smiled. The sound of ba-ba would have kept him awake, but a Salty story would send him happily to sleep. The island of Sodor can be a noisy place full of all sorts of sounds. What sounds can you hear at Knapford Station? That doesn't sound right. That's more like it. So what was making the other sound? Yes, a herd of cows. Here's Harold the helicopter. What sound does Harold make when he flies? That doesn't sound right. That's what Harold sounds like. So what makes the other sound? It's a horse. Of course. What sound does Thomas make? No, that's not it. Who's making that sound? A family of ducks. Now that's not a duck, or a horse, or a cow. It's one of our favorite sounds on the island of Sodor. It's Thomas. Hello, Thomas. Hello, everybody. It was winter. A thick blanket of snow lay over the island of Sodor. All the engines were busy carrying passengers and goods from station to station. Sometimes they need to warn people they are coming. So steam engines blow their whistles. And diesel engines sound their electric horns. One day, Percy took some troublesome trucks to the smelter's yard. He whistled hello to Harry and Bert. But Harry and Bert laughed.
Call that a whistle?
Mocked Bert.
Just listen to this. Diesels can do everything better than steamies,
They sneered. My whistle's as good as your horns, puffed Percy crossly. Just you wait and see. Percy practiced loud whistling. He blew louder. And louder. And louder. At last, he was ready to surprise Harry and Bert. Later, Percy went back to the quarry. He rolled up behind Harry and Bert, took an extra big puff, and blew as loudly as he could. Harry and Bert were surprised. I told you my whistle is as good as your silly old horns, laughed Percy. Now that he had a super loud whistle, Percy couldn't wait to use it again. When he saw Thomas in the sidings, he took a big puff and blew as loud as he could. Thomas was cross. "That wasn't funny," he sniffed. Percy didn't notice. He was too busy having fun. Percy saw Bertie the bus. He took another big puff and blew. Bertie skidded all over the road. "Percy!" he cried crossly. "You nearly caused an accident!" But Percy had already chuffed away.